The reason there's so much disdain for the boomer generation from millennials is because boomers are kind of looked at as a generation that caused a lot of the issues that millennials are facing. And when you look at the data, it's true. I mean, boomers did basically acquire a ton of real estate and then enact a ton of zoning laws as well as not in my backyard movements to protect their investment. And now millennials are dealing with that as they approach and enter home buying age because homes are much more expensive because the supply didn't keep up. And that's because boomers wanted to protect their investment. Now, I'm not saying that it's boomers' fault. Anyone in that situation would probably enact similar laws to protect themselves because humans are self interested. But boomers could at least acknowledge the fact that, hey, they did have it easier. They had a much easier economic environment and they were able to acquire wealth, not just because they were hard workers, but because of the economic environment. And really, a lot of boomers look at millennials as lazy or entitled, when in reality, they're not. A lot of millennials are intelligent, hard-working individuals, but with the same amount of effort, they're going to go less far in life simply because they are in a more difficult economic environment. And that also goes for the generations below them as well, like Gen Z, etc.
You know, I used to hang out with a friend that was raised by rich parents. They were six-figure earners. His parents earned a six-figure income, so he was pretty well off. He was really, really, really well off, and he was a spoiled kid, right? So this friend of mine was very tight with his money, but he would ask you to borrow money. I repeat, he had money, but he'd ask you to borrow money. He would borrow money from you. Whenever we would go somewhere to eat, he would ask you to spend money on him while he had thousands of dollars in his bank account. That is exactly how boomers are. Now, mind you, this friend that I'm talking about, he was not a boomer. Of course, he's not a boomer. This motherfucker was in his 20s, early 20s, years ago. What is up, guys? It's your boy Andy Matrix. I'm back on Angry Guys YouTube channel. If you have not heard of me, this is your boy Andy Matrix. Check out Andy Matrix Gaming, where I talk about anime, gaming, and Japanese culture. If you're into any of those things, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the link in the description. I'm trying to reach 3,000 subscribers. If you'd like to help out with that, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, everybody. Also, check out Angry Guy on Rumble because he's uploading videos over there that are not allowed on YouTube. So there's some spicy stuff over there. If you want to check it out, click the link in the description. And also, we're heading into the digital future. So check out Angry Guys Crypto Academy, where you learn how to buy and sell cryptocurrency. And which coins to buy, which coins that are going to be profitable in the future. So go ahead and check that out. And also, guys, YouTube has gone absolutely insane with the algorithm. So help us get pushed up in the algorithm. Hit the like button, hit in comment below. Share this video. Help us go up in the algorithm so other people can reach this video. Now let's get on with the show. I used to think that the way boomers behaved and their mentality was just an American thing. However, as someone that came from the Caribbean islands over to America, I have seen similar behaviors from boomers in other countries. Right? The boomer generations in other countries, they behave similarly. The only difference, the only thing that makes America special is that the boomers here in America had money. They had money. Okay? They're selfish and greedy. They refuse to help you. But now that they are old and about to die, they wonder why, their grown children won't help them. Oh, wait a minute. Was it because you kicked them out at the age of 18? At the age of 18, you kicked them out of the house and you did not prepare them for the real world, didn't help them find a job, any of that thing, any of those? Many of the problems we have today is because of the baby boomers. Boomers had children as a tax write-off. It's not that they don't love you. It's just that, you're not helping them save enough money. Boomers pretty much invented swingers party. Oh, okay. You didn't know that. You didn't know that boomers, invented the swingers party and a lot of and all those degenerate stuff. Well, how about this? Baby boomers were nicknamed the me generation. Yeah, yeah. The me generation because of their narcissism. It wasn't just with money, but they seemed to be very hedonistic. They were very hedonistic. Think about that. Many of the laws that were passed throughout the years, decades, was because the baby boomers were trying to protect their wealth. What? Your boomer parents and grandparents were thinking about you? You really think that your boomer parents and grandparents were thinking about you? Don't make me laugh. But hey, we have a YouTuber called Shelby. She's going to fill us in on what millennials and Gen Zers think of boomers. So here we go.
Nobody from our generation is thriving right now. We are all struggling. And honestly, I'm tired of living through historical events. I'm done participating in this broken system. And every time I go onto TikTok, it's like one part dance video, one part war crime. Like we're watching World War III happen on TikTok live in a lot of cases. And I'm not buying into any of this bullshit anymore. They wanted division, and that's what they got. What would they do if we all stopped participating at once? To be honest with you, I think we should all just strike, and I think it's kind of subtly happening. Millennials are collectively just kind of opting out and giving up. We were told to do one thing only for the world to be completely different by the time we became adults. And we're burnt out. And the boomers wonder why. We don't conform to the idea that we have to commit to one company for the rest of our lives. We know these companies aren't loyal. We don't want to tolerate abuse just to pay our bills. No matter what we do, no matter how hard we work, we can't get ahead. Inflation and cost of living is always one step ahead. It takes 110% just to tread water, just to barely make ends meet. Sometimes we have to have more than one job in a lot of cases, more than one full-time job. All of our waking hours is going towards just putting a roof over our head. Most of us are tired of being gaslit by our parents' generation, and we're blamed for what we didn't cause. Nothing is changing for the better. And it seems that every day it's another tragedy. If you're burnt out by bad news, at least it means that you kind of care. Because if you didn't care, you would just scroll right past it and not give a shit. But honestly, all this bad news and all these tragedies, one after the other, are really starting to get to me. I'm kind of just tired of it. I remember when I was being bullied, no one intervened. I was told to pick myself up by my bootstraps. I was told to turn the other's cheek. I was told to empathize with my bully. I was given a bunch of bullshit advice. And for me, that was the beginning of basically not trusting the boomers. And boomers say that no one wants to work anymore. And you know what? They're right. Absolutely right. We can't think of anything that we would want to participate in less than in a job market that doesn't even pay us a living wage. We are a generation who was collectively left behind. And we all feel like we are not enough because society's idea of success is no longer possible. Boomers taught us to identify our self-worth with what we have. They were able to do that and have it work out. These systems were never sustainable, and we entered into a disenfranchised world. I want to define my value not by what I do for a living, but how consistent I am with my passions and the community that I'm building here on YouTube. And you know what? We're collectively tired. Millennials are tired. We are all depressed. It basically goes without saying we're all on medication. We want to travel and have fun, but we either don't have the time or the money. And you know what? We've honestly never given a shit. All the crash out music that we grew up with in the early 2000s was the canary in the coal mine. And honestly, guys, what was your favorite crash out song or band back in the day, by the way? Leave it in the comments below if you have a favorite crash out band. We are working 2 jobs and we're still not surviving. What is the point of busting our asses just to tread water? But at the same time, do we even have a choice? If you haven't had kids yet, you are at the privilege of seeing how awful it is for your friends. They're struggling to afford childcare. They're struggling to put food on the table. They're having baby mama and baby daddy drama. I mean, even having kids at this point is just feeding more slaves into the system. We've essentially been priced out of community because we can't afford to live or to go out or to do anything. We've had a housing crisis, a global health crisis, a job crisis, and a population crisis because no one is breeding. And the wolves are angry that the sheep have stopped producing. Yet the issue is avocado toast, apparently, and buying too much Starbucks or something. Like, what do they expect us to do? honestly. If you did everything your parents do, like I did, you're struggling right now. I guarantee it. It is harder for us than it was for them, but they refuse to admit it. You could have a house and two kids on 25K a year, and the income gap is real. Times are different, times have changed. Someone needs to tell the boomers to knock it off and to at least open their eyes to what we're going through. People with master's degrees are drowning in debt and doing delivery work to survive. And we did everything right, according to our parents, and we can't afford to live. We are defeated, demoralized, dissociated, and a lot of us are choosing to opt out early. Crippled by debt, facing impossible housing costs, being gaslit by our parents, how can anyone not be crashing out? This collective millennial and Gen Z crash out might be a mystery to the older generation, but honestly, what do they expect? Like, how could it be any different? Only like the top 10% of people aren't having a mental breakdown right now.
That is right, guys. That is right. And as we're heading into the all digital future, you're going to want to check out Angry Guys Crypto Academy. You learn how to buy and sell crypto, make a profit of a crypto, and know which coins to buy. Click the link in the description to check it out and get started. And go ahead and take it away, Angry.
Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now.
You know what? We gotta give it to the baby boomers. I mean, you almost have to respect how evil they are. You know, many things that we are dealing with now is because of their selfishness, right? Whenever a boomer says something like, oh, millennials and Gen Z are lazy, they don't want to buy a house, they want to work, they don't want to work long hours, they don't do this, they don't do that. Well, I'm convinced that, they do know what the problem is because they created the damn problem. They just don't care. They created the problem, they just don't care. We'll pass it on to the next generation. They'll take care of it, right? And hey, if I were a spoiled kid that was raised in the 60s and 70s, right? If I was a spoiled kid and my parents never said no to me, my parents didn't give me any discipline, then I would probably have the same attitude. If I was able to buy a house in the 1980s for $25,000, $50,000, and then resell it for $100K, if my life was indeed that easy, then yeah, I probably wouldn't give a shit. Why are millennials, I would wonder, why are millennials poor? How come they're not flipping houses for pennies like I do? You see, boomers think that suffering is not for them, right? Boomers think that suffering is not something that was made for them. Like God created humanity, but God was like, everybody's going to suffer except these groups of people. That because of how they were raised, suffering was not something that they were supposed to experience. Suffering was for other groups of people, like immigrants in third world countries. Right? But American boomers, there is no way they can suffer. No, there's no way. That's not something that we're, that we were meant to do. We don't do suffering around here, they would say. I came to America in 1999. I always wonder, why is it that white America, kicked their kids out at the age of 18? That seemed crazy to me. Oh, and why do Americans put their grandparents in nursing homes? That also seemed very crazy to me. Oh, that's right. It's because the baby boomers didn't want to take any responsibility. It was just too stressful. So they normalized kicking their kids out at 18. So they normalized putting their aging parents in nursing homes so that they don't have to take care of them. See, the baby boomers, it was just about me, 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 me. Forget everybody. Forget everybody. It started to make sense, why the world looked at America the way they did. Let's go back to Shelby.
We were told that college was the only way. I knew that wasn't right for me back in the day. I had a gut feeling that this was wrong. But I didn't know what else to do, so I went ahead and wasted my time and money by following my parents' orders anyway. I honestly never thought that I would still be living at my parents' house at 32, and society told me to blame myself for this situation, but I no longer do blame myself. I honestly think it's a systemic problem. It's much bigger than me. And we don't know where we stand in society. We don't really have a stake in society at this point. It's not even our world that we're living in. We are collectively exhausted from surviving at least 12 different apocalypses within our short lives. And they keep moving the goalposts every time we get close to reaching a checkpoint. Boomers are paying $1,000 a month for the property taxes on their paid off big houses that they bought for $25K, while our generation has to pay $2K a month for a shit apartment in a shit part of town. How are we supposed to save for a house? Yet they somehow expect us to do this. I want you guys to know that you're not alone. I want everyone to turn up and crash out, because honestly, this world has been past its prime for a while. The great American experiment has fallen. The American dream was the boomer dream. We are not in the generation that can inherit this dream. We were born awake in a lot of ways. A lot of millennials can't have the American dream because we are awake. We see what's happening, and we know that it was all a lie. We've collectively decided to embrace our inner child, and we never gave up our childhood hobbies, because really the only good thing about our childhood was all the cool stuff that we got to have, like, our hobbies, Pokemon, Neopets, all that, at least for me. We're on autopilot every single day, and all we do is feel alone and want to give up. We want someone to tell us it's going to be okay, but that person is never going to come, and even that is a lie. We stopped caring a long time ago. If you told us aliens were real, we honestly wouldn't care. We've seen the world in so many times that we're done. Honestly, at this point, if an alien wanted to abduct me, I'd be down to go with them. Why not? I'll try a different planet on for size. We're stuck between boomers and Gen Z. Both of them hate us. That's no way to treat the mentally ill, to be honest. That's kind of a stigma. Kids these days don't even play house anymore. They play overpriced apartment with a greedy landlord. I've been in a crisis since '01. Our quarter-life crisis was honestly inevitable. I mean, we got to adulthood and we realized that we can't play this game. The game is rigged. And we've been priced out of everything. We are too self-aware. We know what's wrong with us. We know what's wrong with the world, but we're not in charge and we can't fix it. We're also dying younger. For many of us, our friends are starting to die, and a lot of them started to die in high school and even college. I'm sure you know at least one person that died very young. Probably they unalived themselves, got in a car wreck, or it was an OD. We're on a floating rock paying for natural resources that honestly should be free. So what is the point? What are we working towards? And will we ever be able to afford what our parents have? Like, our lives are a literal joke at this point. Our generation honestly doesn't have to... Our generation honestly can't be the current parents, and we're obviously doing a terrible job at raising Gen Alpha anyways. My parents had a house and a kid at my age. I'm just happy when I can buy 4 bags of groceries without getting overdrawn. We go to work every day with nothing to show for it. Being an adult is shit, and being a child wasn't much better, honestly. The moment you save an emergency fund, there's an emergency, and it's back to zero. So fuck it, why not just spend it? It's in my best financial interest to just drop dead now. My chance of owning a house is to play around a Monopoly. I cheer when the fertility rate hit an all-time low. People aren't exactly lining up to have kids in this rigged system. So no rational person is looking at the state of the world and saying, let's have a baby. And you know what? I'm here for it. People are literally financing pizzas in this economy. They're going into debt and taking out loans to buy fast food. No one should be having kids. Honestly. What is the government doing? Or what is the government going to do when we can't afford anything anymore? What happens when we're all homeless? The average millennial in their 30s has less than nothing to their name, while boomers could do it all and more on one income. Normal people with normal jobs have realized that they can no longer win. We have to do all of this work, like the work of 5 people, for less than a living wage. We can't get a house because we have loans. Yet we needed a degree to get the job in order to get the house. Make it make sense. The powers that be have gradually ruined the world for the rest of us. Like the frog in boiling water, we've just become used to it, and this is our new normal now. Late stage capitalism is like a power creep in video games. Our lives are so much worse than those that came before us. The payoff for our hard work is no longer worth it, yet we're the ones that are called lazy and entitled. We are all exhausted. It's been so many years since I haven't felt like shit. I've done everything to heal, yet I still feel like a broken adult. Our souls are sick, and we're trapped in this world that we didn't ask for, inheriting the problems that we didn't create. And we are the first generation that has no hope, no purpose. Most of us have been pre-assigned to fail. So why play a game if you are destined to lose? If you can't win, opt out.
You know, as a millennial, I say let the system crash. Let the system crash. The way it's going, we need a crash at this point. I honestly think that this is good for Americans. Our country can use a disaster that will change the hearts and minds of people in this country. Also, I'm not going to lie, seeing boomers becoming homeless and literally experiencing the hardships that we are going through gives me a bit of a laugh. And I'm not supposed to wish bad luck on other people, but in this case, the boomers deserve every misfortune that happens to them. They deserve it.
The reason there's so much disdain for the boomer generation from millennials is because boomers are kind of looked at as a generation that caused a lot of the issues that millennials are facing. And when you look at the data, it's true. I mean, boomers did basically acquire a ton of real estate and then enact a ton of zoning laws as well as not in my backyard movements to protect their investment. And now millennials are dealing with that as they approach and enter home buying age, because homes are much more expensive because the supply didn't keep up. And that's because boomers wanted to protect their investment. Now, I'm not saying that it's boomers' fault. Anyone in that situation would probably enact similar laws to protect themselves because humans are self-interested. But boomers could at least acknowledge the fact that, hey, they did have it easier. They had a much easier economic environment, and they were able to acquire wealth, not just because they were hard workers, but because of the economic environment. And really, a lot of boomers look at millennials as lazy or entitled, when in reality, they're not. A lot of millennials are intelligent, hard-working individuals, but with the same amount of effort, they're going to go less far in life simply because they are in a more difficult economic environment. And that also goes for the generations below them as well, like Gen Z, etc.
After all the problems they created, well, you created suffering for the next generation. Well, you thought you weren't going to experience it? Yeah, right. I think if the system collapses, we can start to rethink the way that we live, the way that we build families, the way that we make friends, the way that we treat other people, the way that we do business. I think it will take a collapse for Americans to stop being so greedy, selfish, and so damn materialistic. That we create a lifestyle, that we create a culture that has more to do than with money. That is more than just money, that more than just about money. Right? It's more than just about how much money you make here in America. I know we're supposed to be the richest country in the world, but that's over. We're going to have to create a culture for the people. The sad part is that millennials and Gen Z, we are the ones that have to live through this time. And yet, I also believe that this is good because now we are the ones who can forge history. We can forge history. From now on, we create culture. Let's build a new culture where kids don't kick out where parents don't kick out their kids at the age of 18. A new culture where we don't put our aging parents in nursing homes. A new culture where we are not isolated. A culture of friendship. Another sad thing is that to build this culture, we might have to leave America behind and take it somewhere else. That sounds crazy. But hey, what do you think? Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for future notifications. Guys, it's your boy, Andy Matrix. Godspeed.